Welcome, fellow Earthlings, to another episode. My name is Rogan, and you are watching The Mysterious Stoner in a Bowler. Come in, let's get on with it. Forgive me, friends. I am not completely myself today. I'm a bit tired, but fortunately for both our sakes, because I know my videos tend to be long, today's episode should be on the shorter side. Just let me calm down a bit with a bit of magical herb, and we will get started. The bloody hell. Oh dear. Shit. The battery was completely charged, but is broken, so I have another one that will do for now. Hopefully. Such a stressful day. But now that I have had my little smoke and puff, let us dive into today's Bible story. Today's story takes place after Abraham has died. Turns out he was not quite as nearly dead as I thought he was in the previous story, when he went to send his servant to go get a wife for his son Isaac. He lived a good bit longer, actually, and had some other women and had children by them. But the Bible doesn't really give two shits about them. It just continues on with Isaac after Abraham dies. And honestly, I had to do some forward reading to try and see, because as I was reading to get ready for this week, I noticed something rather strange that I hadn't realized before, and you can look it up yourself, but there is not a whole lot about Isaac in the Bible. You would think he would have some stories about him, yes? Well, there is a few here and there, but he doesn't do anything on the scale of what Abraham does. Except for one thing. And that very thing, is what we are going to be talking about today. Let's jump in. Chapter 26. And just to keep things simple and brief, there is some context, but not really too important for the part that I want to jump in. So we're going to start right at verse 6. And Isaac dwelt in Gerar. It was just a location. He's living there in this place where he's supposed to be, according to what God has told him. And the men of the place asked him of his wife, Rebecca that is. They asked him of his wife, and he said, "She is my sister." For he feared to say, "She is my wife," lest, said he, the men of the place should kill me for Rebecca, because she was fair to look upon. Does that sound familiar? If you've been watching my videos, this should sound very familiar to you. If you haven't, well, I'll let you in on it once we get to the end of the story. So, Isaac is telling everyone that his wife is his sister, because he's afraid they'll kill him and take her. And it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, I don't know how long, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out at a window and saw, and behold, Isaac was sporting with Rebekah, his wife. I'm going to guess that sort of means, like, foreplay, wooing his wife, And so obviously that is rather concerning to this king. The king knows about this. Remember, Isaac is wealthy, he's rich, People know about him when he walks into a place because of how wealthy he is. So the king is going to know if some local rich guy who just happened to move in has a really hot wife, because word gets around. You know, we like hot women. So, anyways, so the king Abimelech, he sees that Isaac is having some fun with his wife. And Abimelech called Isaac and said, "Behold, of a surety, she is thy wife. And how saidst thou, she is my sister?" And Isaac said, unto him, "Because I said, lest I die for her." Apparently, he's too much of a pussy to die for his woman. That just didn't sound very chivalrous of him at all. In fact, he sounds very cowardly. He's all wealthy and everything, but he's not afraid to put up a fight or anything. He thinks literally everyone's going to gang up on him. Like, come on, really? And Abimelech said, "What is this thou hast done unto us? One of the people might have lightly have lain with thy wife, and thou shouldst have brought guiltiness upon us." And Abimelech charged all his people, saying, "He that toucheth this man or his wife shall surely be put to death." If you've been watching the previous videos, you might also recognize the name Abimelech. And if you haven't, well, of course I am going to update you. If you go back to Abraham, you will find that there were 2 times where Abraham himself lied to a king. He lied to a pharaoh in Egypt, and he lied to a king. There was no name given for the pharaoh, but the king had a name, and that king's name was Abimelech. Now, it didn't say who this king was the king of, but here in this story with Isaac, it says that this king Abimelech was king of the Philistines. And I think there is a good chance that this could be the same Abimelech. People tended to live a long time back then, and it's fairly understandable that Abimelech could have been a much younger king back then. And if this was the same Abimelech, if he was completely aware of Isaac coming in, I'm sure he probably met Isaac. And I mean, if this was the same Abimelech, then he should know from previous experience with Isaac's father that this family has a thing for lies and having beautiful wives and lying about them and scamming. Well, I think it was scamming. I believe Abraham scammed both kings because he told the same lie to both of them. They both gave him plenty of riches. He was already wealthy, and they just gave him a bunch more for his sister. And then, once they found out that she was actually his wife, they kicked him out, and they didn't even take their stuff back. And even though Abraham was supposed to be God's person, God's favorite, well, he's very clearly treated like a favorite because God does not force Abraham to give back what was given to him. He doesn't punish him or anything. And Abraham does it twice, and he gets wealthy from it twice. Who knows, he could have done it even more than that, for all we know. And here we see his son Isaac doing the exact same thing. Fortunately, I bet Abimelech was suspicious of Isaac. And it was very smart of him to be suspicious if he was. Because like father, like son. And fortunately for Abimelech, he hadn't given anything to Isaac. No one had gotten involved with Isaac's wife because apparently that brought down the wrath of God. Not upon Isaac for lying, or upon Rebekah for going along with it. No, just upon the people who would have taken Rebekah in. Because that is what happened with the Pharaoh and the possibly other king, Abimelech. That is what happened. Everyone got cursed and plagued except for Abraham and his wife Sarah. Seems awfully convenient, and then God doesn't go through the trouble of punishing his faithful child, his, I mean, if it were a Christian, Christians believe in God punishing them for sinning. God doesn't punish Abraham at all. And this seems very contradictory of the way I was taught to believe, the way God acted. And so Isaac, fortunately, the word is out. Isaac's sister is actually his wife. Nothing comes of it, like in the stories with his father. But it is interesting to note right after the king has proclaimed anyone who messes with Isaac or his wife are to be killed, because Abimelech is not taking any chances. But it goes on to say that right after, in the next verse, then Isaac sold in the land and received the same year 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. And the man waxed great, and went forward, and grew until he became very great. For he had possession of flocks, and possession of herds, and great store of servants. And the Philistines envied him. So we just got through seeing that Isaac lied, just like his father. And just like his father, he doesn't get punished for it. But not only does he not get punished for it, no one has given him anything, and yet God just decides to start blessing the fuck out of Isaac, even though he just lied. Instead of punishing him, he blesses him and gives him all this stuff. Once again, it seems like this God plays favorites. He doesn't know anything about being just or fair. And he is not a God I would ever want to serve, because what if he liked someone more than me? He clearly liked Isaac and Abraham more than anyone else. He liked them more than all the Israelites, because God supposedly created the 10 Commandments, and in one of the biggest ones is thou shalt not lie. Apparently, God has a problem with everyone doing it except for his absolute favorite people. Or Abraham was just a scammer, and Isaac was trying to scam someone, but sharp eye Abimelech, he saw through the bullshit. He said, "Oh no, you don't. We're not going through that bullshit again. No one touched this man's wife. We know what happened last time." So, whatever trick Isaac had up his sleeve that he was going to try to pull like his father didn't work out. He got caught red-handed. Well, red-handed with his wife. Not red-handed at trying to spoil a plague or anything. Or who knows, maybe he did and the Bible just doesn't say that. There are a lot of things the Bible strangely chooses to say and to not say. And sometimes what it chooses to not say is very important information that could be really useful and change the entire outlook of a situation or a story. But this book has been edited so many times, you can't really trust it. You have to be very careful when believing what this book says. You need to test it against reality. You need to see if it's actually true in the world before you decide everything is from God. Everything in this book is perfect. This book has all the answers. No, 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 my friends. This book does not have all the answers. And you will never have all the answers for yourself, and you'll need to learn to be okay with that. Only go after the answers that are worth pursuing. Because really, not everything is worth learning. But there are many things out there that are important to know. And one of them is how to distinguish lies from truth. And to never judge a book by its cover. This is not a very holy book at all. And we are at the end of today's video, so I hope you have enjoyed. I apologize if this has not been up to standard as per usual. I've done my best, but now we must stop for the evening. If you have enjoyed this video, I hope you will leave a like, subscribe, share. And if you have comments or questions, please, I would love to hear from you. Until next time, my friends, stay safe. Farewell.